For another interview with one of our local businesses, and I'm going to introduce you to Ben. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you, Ruth. Yeah, thanks for having us on.
My pleasure. So for those people that are watching that may not know anything about you or what you do you want to just give us a quick kind of explanation of that?
Yeah, so my name's Ben Yates and I own a business called By Design. Our business is mainly focused around providing secure, reliable website hosting and also building websites which work on all different types of devices. The idea being that clients can sort of focus on running their businesses, knowing that their website is in good hands.
Fantastic. And how long have you been doing that for, Ben?
17 years. So started back in 2003 when things were very much hand-coded and sort of progressed, over the years from there, really.
And do you help people with websites that maybe they've been built elsewhere and then they come to you, or do you just build from scratch? Or what kind of inquiries do you get? What can you help with?
It's a nice mixture, actually. Yes, you'll get those customers who perhaps have got an existing website and they want to make some changes to it, or they're perhaps not getting the right level of service from their current provider. They're often, feeling perhaps a bit neglected. So those customers are great because we can move them over onto the server and then fix whatever needs fixing. And then also you do get those, the startup businesses or the businesses that have perhaps had a website and let it go, or they want to build a new one. So it makes it quite varied and quite interesting each week, really.
Yeah. Okay. And whereabouts are you based? So people that might not be familiar.
Yeah, so I've got an office up at Penrod Way near Heysham Port. So right at the end of the bypass. So we're sort of 10 minutes from Lancaster, 10 minutes from Morecambe. And the bypass has been brilliant. It's made it so much more accessible for customers to come here and, obviously when lockdown permits.
Yeah. And I suppose you're not necessarily as well just restricted to looking after customers that are in the local area, are you, given the nature of what you do?
Yeah, it's quite strange. I once had a customer in the Shetland Islands and I never met him because he never really came to this country. It was through a recommendation of an old school friend who'd gone there on a honeymoon of all things and spoke to somebody who said they needed a website and ended up working with him for about 5 years, which was brilliant, so it just showed the power of email and the web, that you can really connect, anywhere in the world.
Absolutely. And for those people that will have met both you and I before, that you do work with us as well, don't you, Consult Centre? So we sometimes approach client projects together. We'll be doing the social media, and you'll be doing some of the website stuff. If you had a specialism, I know you've got plenty of expertise, but what would you say your real area of specialism is?
For me, it's always been about bridging the gap. So you've got websites are, quite technical in their nature, and lots of customers aren't technically minded and don't want to be. What they want to be able to do is to run their business without having to worry about it. So I suppose I've always felt that that's where I sit naturally between the two worlds, so I can help people with what they want to achieve without them getting dragged into the nitty-gritty of it. So it's, I think, bridging the gap, I suppose.
And also, I suppose people are quite concerned about websites in the sense that they think it's going to be very technical. What would you say to people that are worried about it being a very technical thing as well?
I would say, that it doesn't need to be, in the same way that sort of owning a modern car, you don't actually need to know anything about cars or mechanics to drive a modern car, because it kind of, as long as you've got someone who can look after it for you, it should just be there and do what it needs to do when you need it to do it, which is obviously the job of the hosting company, to make sure that that is the case. And if it's not the case, then, you're at the end of the phone and it's like, right, that's fine. We'll have a look into that for you, whatever the issue is, or, whatever you want to change. So it's, I think it is just taking some of that pressure off people so they don't feel that they've got to become an expert in websites and code and all that kind of malarkey.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It can feel very overwhelming kind of for somebody who maybe isn't that technical. And I think, forgive me when I say this, but some people's experience of dealing with people that do web development is that they are quite technical. Whereas, one of the things that I found working with you is, whilst you are technical in the work that you do, you're not necessarily technical in the conversation that you have with your client, though, are you? So that's quite a welcome, I suppose, change actually from what most people are probably used to having.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's good to hear, because I think this, certainly from the early days, I found that was what a lot of people needed, was to be able to speak on a basic one-to-one level about about things without feeling overwhelmed. So it's yeah, it's good to know.
What are you most proud of in the business, Ben?
I think the fact that we've been able to retain the human element. So it started as me, as I say, 17 years ago. It's progressed. You know, we've now got over 300 customers on the hosting side of things, and everybody's happy. But we've retained the ability where it's very much about human relationships, and it's built on trust. So it's not a call center. It's not, you know, you ring and leave messages and somebody will look at it in 2 weeks or whatever. It's still got that kind of that human feel, where people, you know, are treated as individuals and get the correct level of customer service, really.
And you said before about referrals, so I know that you do get quite a lot of referrals because of the level of your service. Do you think that's been a real big part of your kind of growth, if you will? If it is it down to referral, or what do you think that is?
Yeah, I think word of mouth has always been the core of the business, really. And it's the referral side of it is always great because you think, well, if that person's passed my name on, they're obviously happy, you know. And I think that, as you said earlier, kind of dovetails the work I do with you, where equally, if I, you know, when I've referred my customers to you, they've been happy, that makes me look good because they've got the good service from the consult centre. So I think, you know, it's businesses like that. If you can recommend people and the person does a good job, it then makes you look good in return.
So one thing that you have mentioned before when we've chatted is you've got kind of quite an environmental commitment, haven't you? And I think people might have seen a little bit about this, but may not necessarily fully understand it. Can you explain a little bit about that new? Well, I suppose it's an initiative that you've got, but we're hearing more about it now, aren't we?
Yeah, so it was because I have a web server with a company called UK Fast. So their data center is in Manchester. And through some accreditation, they have achieved carbon neutral status, which therefore qualifies my server as carbon neutral. And therefore, any of my clients who are hosted on that server also qualify to have a carbon neutral website. So it's just one step in the right direction for the environmental sort of side of things, which yeah, I'm seeing a lot more customers looking for that now, and are interested in being at least trying to be carbon neutral. And I suppose with the rise of the Eden project and the potential that might bring to the town, it's sort of saying, well, if you're going to approach the Eden project team to supply them or work with them, the more boxes you can tick in that respect and prove that you actually do care about the environment, the more likely they are to talk to you. So yeah, it's been a good step forward, which came about last year, really, in the middle of the year. But things have been so busy that I'm kind of getting a big promotion going this month. Got a little cartoon that will be going live in the next week or so on Facebook. We're quite looking forward to that. So hopefully, yeah, we can really start to push that out there now.
Fantastic. So people could contact you if they just need a bit of advice. Probably they're not sure the right way to go. They could contact you if they're at the starting point and they want an e-commerce shop, or they want a service-based website, or they want a presence. If they've got a site that's already been built, but they might want some additions and changes, or God forbid, they're paying way over the odds for the hosting, which is often the case, and they could just keep it as it is, but they could move it potentially. Yeah. So there, is there any other reason that someone might be watching this and think, I'm not sure he's the right guy, or can he do X and can he do Y? Is there anything there that you can do that I've not mentioned that people might want to know?
Well, I'd certainly say from an advice point of view, the door's always open in that respect, because whilst it'd be nice to say we can do everything in life, sometimes there are things you think that may not be something we can do, but then it's about, you can help somebody find and hook them up with a person who can do it. So, one of my regular clients actually came to me about 2 months ago, and they wanted to put together a sort of an auditing system for examiners. But it was very much of an offline kind of tool, and they needed a specialist software firm. So I found them one that I'd previously worked with, hooked the two of them up together, and they got the job done, and it's been absolutely brilliant. So had that client not rung me with their question, they wouldn't have got it done. So it's not always about whether I can do it. It's about, even if I can't, there's an option there to guide people in the right direction. So, that's why it's always worth asking a question.
Brilliant. Well, we're going to come to the end of this interview now. If people do want to contact you, Ben, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so just on the website, it's ben-yates.co.uk. There's all the contact details on there. The telephone number is 07875734817. Again, it's all on the website. So yeah, that'd be absolutely lovely.
Super. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for your time, Ruth.